on X at CARDOBROOKS, and he's a celebrity, so maybe you don't need to follow him, but Cliff Nationwide on X to, continue the conversation on the polls, because everybody has something to say about these poll findings. So,
well, and this evening we're telling you that a clear majority of registered voters now believe the governing Jamaica Labour Party is best equipped to deal with the main problems facing Jamaica. That's according to the nationwide Bluedot polls powered by Total Tools. 51% of Jamaicans say they believe the Holness-led administration is the best party to solve the problems of crime, unemployment and cost of living. That number has risen sharply in the last 3 months, when only 37% of voters held that view. Ricardo Brooks has been tracking the numbers.
The Holness-led JLP has been touting what it says is a record of performance and achievement over its near-decade-long stint in government. The Prime Minister himself has asked voters to reflect on which of the two political parties are best suited to get the job done.
All governments must come to you with a manifesto of plans, things that we're going to do. And you have to assess, can they do it? It's very good to talk rhetoric, promises, glowing words. But the real test, who delivers? Who gets the job done? That's what it comes down to.
It seems Jamaicans are now clear on an answer. When the Bluedot pollsters asked 1,618 registered voters between May 2 and 17 which party they believed could successfully address the main problems facing Jamaica, the response was unequivocal. 51% of them said the JLP. That's a 14-point jump since February this year, when 37% placed their confidence in the JLP's ability. Notably, the JLP's strength on this question has risen by 23 points since February of 2023. That's when it recorded the lowest confidence level of 28%. The pollsters say the significant increase in confidence suggests voters are fast making up their minds and choosing between two governing visions. The People's National Party, PNP, has also seen an increase in public confidence in their ability to tackle the country's biggest problems. The party rose by 7 points over the last 3 months. The party moved from 25% then to 32% now. It's the highest level of public confidence seen in these polls regarding the PNP's ability to successfully govern. The PNP has increased by 12 points in voter confidence since 2023, but it's still dwarfed by the JLP's 19-point lead on the question of confidence. That's well outside the margin of error of 2.3%. 17% of respondents were undecided about which party was best suited to deal with the country's problems, but that figure has fallen from a high of 52% back in 2023. This may give credence to the observation of the pollsters that a strong majority of voters have indeed made up their minds ahead of this year's general election. In fact, the data suggests that for the first time in these polls, the confidence being expressed in both major political parties has surpassed 80%. If the JLP's General Secretary, Dr. Horace Chang, is right, and the record of achievement will indeed be decisive in the upcoming elections, the Prime Minister may well be dusting off his calendar and checking the available dates. In June, July, August, or September, only Holness knows. Ricardo Brooks for Nationwide News.
The Nationwide Bluedot polls, powered by Total Tools. Total Tools, they almost always have it.
Meanwhile, confidence in the JLP's ability to tackle the country's major problems has risen across all age groups over the last 3 months. Voters aged 18 to 24 were most confident in the governing party, with 61% saying the JLP was best placed to deal with the country's problems. That's up 16 points since February.
That's right, Cliff, and most notably, listeners, voters over 65 are expressing significant levels of confidence in the JLP's governing ability, giving the party, get this, a near 30-point lead over the PMP, 56% to 27%.
That must be troubling for the comrades this evening, because over 55, 65, that has been the bedrock of PNP support and resilience over the years. Well, we're going to get some reactions now from...
Joining us, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, the JEF, Wayne Chen. We also have with us social commentator Suel Anglin. And just before we get to the guest listeners, I just want to tell the Cliff, I just want to tell the listeners the major issues that the respondents identified. Crime.
Facing the country.
Yes, crime identified as the number one issue. The cost of living identified as the second issue. Corruption, number 3. Unemployment and jobs at number 4, right? And crime, 38% said crime was the major issue. Cost of living, 19% identified that. Corruption, 13%. Mr. Golding will be happy about this. Of course, he's made heavy weather. He has said that this is a corrupt government. And number 4, unemployment and jobs, only 8% of respondents identifying unemployment and jobs as the main issue. Those were the issues the respondents identified. And then saying here, 51% of them saying they believe the JLP is best place to deal with them.
All right, so we have Wayne Chen now, President of the Employers Federation and historian, as well as social commentator Suel Anglin. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Everyone. Thanks for having me.
Good. Let me begin with you, Suel Anglin. Your reactions to the findings that we are reporting this afternoon from Bluedot, the confidence in the JLP, by the public, to really deal with the problems facing the country. Are you surprised by these numbers?
Absolutely not. And I think over the last year up to now, I think we have been seeing a consistent improvement in that area with the JLP. But I think over the last 6 months or so, I think the party and the government overall has really solidified that they have a handle on things. And I think one of our big issues for years, when I was a child, one of the big issues that we heard in Jamaica was always crime. And I think going through all the different governments, crime was that issue that just didn't go away. And I remember, I think about 2 years or so, I said, if the JLP can get crime under control, I think the PMP will have a problem. And here we are, for a few months now, we have been seeing crime trending down, and I think that resonated a lot with Jamaicans. We're seeing lots of development. And I mean, to see a parish like St. Thomas, I was saying on Twitter the other day that I live to see a place like St. Thomas looking like Kingston. And I think those things are resonating with Jamaicans across all ages, people who were old enough to see these things really changing before our eyes. Young people look at those things and we see those things as indicators of development. Okay, the country is looking different, it's feeling different, it's going in a good direction. I think that is what we're seeing right now with these poll numbers.
And Wayne Chen, we always hear that polls are a snapshot in time. The pollsters would have been in the field between May 2 and 17. Of course, at that time, that message that Suel talks about the reduction in crime, 40% I think it's at now, that was a strong message over that period of time. You believe that, you agree that that's what's driving these numbers, these almost amazing numbers?
I believe so. 38% of the people of the poll said crime was their number one issue. There's no, and in the fact is that you have two things. You have the numbers, the headline numbers. The police say murders are down 40%, but people will respond based also on their lived experience. And the fact is that the numbers have been declining. That's statistics. But also the presence of the police and the sense of public order has improved steadily over the last year and more. You see more police on the road. Their uniforms are outstanding. They can't hide. There are more vehicles on the road. People just get a sense of a greater presence. So it's not just hearing the headline that murders are down 40%, but it's also seeing an increased and more disciplined police presence. So I think both of them have resonated well with the public. But I also want to comment on something else.
Can you
The
take
fact
that?
that-
Let's take that
that
after the
job-
break. Let's take that after the break, Wayne. We're up on the break. Stay with
Is best equipped to address the main problems facing the country. We're going through the data with President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen. We also have social commentator Suel Anglin. And just before the break, Wayne Chen, you were going on to the question, I believe, of jobs and the numbers we're seeing there.
The fact that unemployment, and I've been following polls since Carl Stone made polls a public thing over 40 years ago. I have never seen jobs fall so low in the public consciousness as a concern. And it mirrors what we have been seeing with the fall in the unemployment rate. So what I'm seeing here is that the public concerns are catching up with the numbers. I mean, statistics are one thing, and headlines are one thing, but people tend to react to their lived experience. And going back to the issue of crime, better management of crime, the visibility of the police and the professionalism of the police is something I've picked up out there in the public sentiment, that has also improved. So hearing the headlines that murder, the statistics are favorable, that the murders have fallen, the rate has fallen, is matching up also with an increased respect and admiration of the police. And that is the lived experience of people seeing the police around, looking more professional, behaving in a more professional manner. The communication, whether on social media or in the traditional media, of the police has no doubt also improved. So this all adds up to people feeling better about the management of crime.
And if I could just follow up, Cliff, on that question of unemployment and jobs, Wayne Chen, because you said something just now that the experience may be catching up now with the numbers. And I wonder how you square that with the argument that we have heard that people are just not feeling it.
Well, the poll is suggesting that people are now feeling things that have been headlined for a while. I mean, the record unemployment rates have been something that have been developing for the last year. And the last real poll we had in Jamaica was the local government elections of February 2024, when 52% of the people voted for the opposition and 48% voted for the ruling party. No, that was a year and 3 months ago. And we have had, I would say, a steady onslaught of good news. Low inflation. Last week we had a record low in the poverty and food poverty rate. But that is matched by other things that have been happening. Over the last few years, the number of recipients of PASS benefits and the actual spend on PASS have also improved, meaning that the most extreme poverty has been targeted. We have seen road repairs at an unprecedented rate, new water infrastructure over the last several months. So people are living and seeing things over the last year that they didn't see in that immediate period after the pandemic.
There's one concern, Suel Anglin, Wayne Chen, that the poll numbers are picking up, though, in terms of the concerns. Cost of living. And I'm going to read from the posters. They say concern about the cost of living jumped from 13% in February to 19% in May, the most significant increase among all ranked issues. This positions it as the second most urgent national problem, reflecting a shift from broader economic worries to more immediate personal financial stress, despite Jamaica's improving macroeconomic indicators. Yes, many households are still feeling the pinch. The contrast between strong economic headlines and daily affordability challenges is likely intensifying this issue in the public mind. That must be a warning signal to the administration. Cost of living experiences. So, Ms. Anglin?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Cliff. I thought you were in the service. But yes, I definitely think that that's something that the party has got to work on more. And I can remember, I'm not sure where the Prime Minister was speaking recently, but she did also mention that she knows that that is still an issue, and that that it is actually working on. So I definitely think between the government and the finance minister, we're going to see some improvements there. I know that coming out of COVID and coming out of the hurricane that we had last year, like a lot of like the agricultural products and stuff like that were affected. We saw a lot of increases in, you know, how we had to pay for things. And I think like a lot of that is on the rebound now. So I'm hoping going into the next couple of months to see some improvements in terms of purchasing right there. But I think overall that is something that the government still needs to address, whether through an increase of the social programs and benefits that we have on different packages, or however. But I think that is something that we still need to work on.
Wayne?
No, there's no doubt that food inflation in particular has hit the most vulnerable very. And Jamaica taking a double whammy. There has been global food inflation caused partly by the Ukraine war, increased demand in other countries. But Jamaica also had its own bout with beryl and unseasonal rain since July last year and onwards. We have the stories all around us. One sweet pepper costing $500 and so on and so forth. It's only in the last couple of weeks that we have seen local produce actually get back to the levels that they were a year ago. So the local inflation is real. The farmers took a big hit, and the consumers feel it. But global food inflation has also caught us, and the most vulnerable are feeling it. There's no doubt that the basket of groceries now have gone up significantly, even though the overall headline inflation rate has remained low and stable. We have been hit by energy prices that haven't really moved. In fact, they have gone down slightly. But that, on the other hand, we win on the swing, but we lose on the roundabout because rents have gone up, because housing demand has not been met by supply. So, you know, there are other things there that some are within the government control, some are outside, but people are feeling it. There's no doubt.
And Wayne Chen, how does an opposition with what at the max time 4 months to go before an election, how does an opposition respond to this kind of sentiment in the population?
The opposition is a government in waiting. They have to know, not hide the policies for fear of them being stolen. That is not how the thing works. They have to come and explain clearly to potential voters in different traffic groups how they will make life better for them by better managing what we now have. How do we improve on the crime management? And I think the opposition here has not come across clearly as to what they would do differently. In fact, their message has been has been perceived to be quite ambivalent. They're not quite sure. One day you're praising police, one day you're not. You're concerned about this, you're concerned about. There's no clear difference in what they would do and better. On the question of corruption, they might be scoring some points, but according to this poll, 13% see it as a concern.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, voters have really two choices. It's not a choice between perfection and very good or good and bad. It's the two options that are presented to them.
Joe Biden always says, don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative. Soil angling, what do you think, Mark Golding, Dayton Campbell, what do they need to be saying to the Jamaican people at this point?
I think it's still the message. I think we still don't know, after all these years, we still don't know what is the alternative that we have outside the JLP. And I think rightfully, as Mr. Chen just said a while ago, we're still not clear. And I think if you look at the government and the JLP's message, they're very clear. Every time Andrew speaks, he's very clear on what they have accomplished. He gives clear examples. The people are able to see from point A what has improved to point B, what has improved to point C. So we have been seeing over the months, it has been resonating with the public over the months, all the things that the Jamaica Labour Party and the government have been doing. We're seeing the outputs of all the investment that we have been paying. And so the country is very clear on what the JLP is putting on the table. We still don't know what the PMP is putting on the table. And I think the message that they have, it's still just not clear. It's not cohesive. And I think that is what is showing again in the poll numbers. People are not clear on what they have, so we cannot make a decision. There's no confidence to be put in it because we we don't know what is happening still. So I think until they are able to clearly say to us, the JLP is doing this, here is how we can make it better, A, B, C, D. Until we are clearly able to see how all of that pans out and how all of it comes together, I think we're still going to be in the same position. And I think it's just very obvious that they're grasping at everything. Like on the social media today, it's one thing. Tomorrow, it's something else. Then they said something that turns out to not be true, and then it's almost just a bag of noise. So I think that's what we need to see from them.
Thank you very much, social commentator Suella Anglin and President of the Employers Federation, Wayne Chen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good.
And you know, Cliff, it seems that the window is closing because look at the undecided.
Yes.
In February of this year, it was at 38%. It's now at 17%.
Right.
So it's falling. People are making up their minds. So now is the time for you to be saying, when they're paying attention, clearly they're now paying attention. When they're paying attention, now is the time for you to be saying, here's my stall.
Yes.
Here's what I have on offer.
The question, and I'm looking forward to the party standings, because look at these numbers. 38% unsure in February 25 over which of the two parties is better able to deal with the problem. That has plunged to 17%. Where has most of those people gone? Well, the PNP has increased its share
by
7 percentage points. The JLP twice that, 14%, 2 to 1. Yeah, does that translate into an intention to vote?
Yes.
For the JLP or for the PNP? Yeah, it doesn't necessarily follow.
No.
It does not necessarily follow.
Yeah.
All right, that's where we're going to leave it. We're going to take the break now for the headlines at 6.